All right, I'd like to call the Monday, March 7th, 2022 Township Committee meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. Carl? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the Municipal building and by faxing notice of the meeting to the Atlantic City Press, Star Ledger, Camden Courier, and Atlantic County Record on January the 7th, 2022. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Ms. Hopkins? Here. Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mayor Kane?
Here. All right, I'd ask you at this point to join me for a moment of silence for private reflection, please. All right, next we'll move on to guest presentations. I don't believe we have any. The addition, deletion of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. I don't believe we have any there. Early public comment on agenda items, excluding items listed for public hearings. Do we have any there, Mr. Administrator?
No, sir, we don't.
All right, just to start off, Joe, I'd like to welcome you. It's a pleasure to have you here. Joe and I got to spend some time together this afternoon and today, and I look forward to a very long relationship with you in the township here. So welcome aboard and congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Next, we'll move on to discussions. Formal action may be taken. First, we have the Municipal Utilities Authority. Carl, I know you put this on the agenda. I'd like to just give a brief update, if I may, prior to the conversation. Firstly, it's in my opinion that this process has become politicized. However, I believe with the recent course of events, specifically the changing of the board chairman at the MUA, that an amicable outcome is possible. The new chairwoman, Mary Jo Couch, reached out to me to ensure that the MUA and Township Committee have a clear line of open communication. Every employee at the MUA deserves annual cost of living and contractual raises. As you may know, payroll and benefits tend to be and normally represent the largest portion of budgets for municipalities and authorities. These amounts normally represent tens of thousands of dollars of obligations that have to be dealt with on an annual basis. I want to be perfectly clear. These workers deserve their contractual raises. They deserve those things. So how do these raises get paid? It's quite simple. There's only two ways to exist to take care of the workers that do so much for us on a daily basis. And that is raise rates, raise taxes, or cover these annual expenses by reducing cost, and specifically by finding new efficiencies and new ways to do business that don't affect the individuals that actually perform the work. I have proposed and continue to propose that we work together to embrace those technologies, leverage duplication of services, and create new efficiencies while promoting, and I've said this from this dais for the last 10 years and the times that I've been here, smaller, more efficient government is better for all. It works faster and it's less expensive on ratepayers and taxpayers. I'm proud to say that Mary Jo and I, along with Andy Leapy, the Director of Operations, the Assistant Director, have agreed to meet and identify where time, effort, and money can be saved to the benefit of all. First of all, Mary Jo, I'd like to thank you for your leadership and her willingness to build a relationship. She reached out to me and she sees that two governmental agencies need to work together. We need to put aside political differences for the benefit of all. Based on that information and the comments that I just made, I would like to entertain a motion at this time to cancel the RFP for the financial audit of the MUA. I believe with the renewed commitment from the board chairwoman and others at the MUA that these efficiencies can be identified by those that are part of it every single day. And I look forward and would like the opportunity to have those discussions and see what we can do as a community together prior to having outside people look at things. So I believe it's something that's achievable. So I would consider a motion to cancel that RFP for the audit of the MUA.
I'll motion.
I have a motion. I have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Rita, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right. Mr. Vitale?
Okay. The MUA, I think we need some full disclosure on a couple things. I myself, I'm a ratepayer, water and sewer. And I know Judy is a ratepayer, water and sewer. Sue's a ratepayer for water, not sewer. Our mayor is no sewer. There's water available, but he's not hooked up. And Rich doesn't have anything available out where he lives. Judy has a business here. She's water and sewer. Sue has a business here, water and sewer. I have no idea about Rich. I don't have a business. Our mayor's business is in Egg Harbor Township, so that's no issue at all. Just wanted to kind of put that out there. I also see that we sent the letter to the MUA asking for whatever you want to call it, the stipend, the whatever, $260,000. When I was first elected and first up here on the dais and saw this, I was looking at this for years before that and really didn't understand. So started asking questions, trying to figure things out. The way I see it, it's we're asking for money from the MUA, and the MUA has to give it to us. That's the law. It's a law that was written back, I believe, in 2008. I really don't remember. Through the years, we have gotten $2.9 million from the MUA. And that was all paid for just by the ratepayers. And whatever other side deals that the MUA has, I know that they get money from different things up on top of the water tower. They get rent for. They get money from the expressway for handling their sewer lines. And I'm sure there might be some other ways that they generate revenue, but mostly it's from the ratepayers. So looking at that, 2 meetings ago, the executive director from the MUA came here, gave us a presentation about how a law was passed that the MUA is now responsible for the water line from the curb to the house, to your house, the business, whatever, because of lead, whatever other things are in the line that could be poisonous. And before that law was passed, it was up to the homeowner to take care of that line. Now the MUA has to take care of that line. This is going to cost a lot of money. So now the township is going to ask for $260,000. MUA has to give it to them. And then the MUA is going to have to borrow money to fix this problem with drinking water. So I just don't know how that's fair to the ratepayers. I don't think it's fair.
Mr. Vitale, do you know why the law was passed in the first place? Does it have anything to do with bad pipes, or what was the legitimate reason that?
I would say I don't know, but I would say it's probably because the government, they're here, they're supposed to take care of us. I get that.
Flint, Michigan.
Well, yeah, Flint, Michigan, but.
That's what it's about.
Excuse me.
Oh, wait a minute.
So
They're not addressed.
I'm sure they look at it and say the average homeowner can't afford to do this. Even though you should have a little bit of money stashed away, but we all know not everybody is fortunate enough to do stuff like that. So that's where we're at. And, the law is the law. It got passed and here we are. We're in this situation and that's fine. So I just don't find it fair that the township takes this money. I did a little bit of research. The MUA owns 17 properties in this township for a value of $1,988,600. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay real estate taxes. If they did, the township's portion would be $17,778. So you know what? Township wants that. Okay, I could see giving them that. Also, I know the township does some clerical work with bills that are overdue, whatever, when a house is sold. So there's a value in that. Okay. I just don't think it should be the full $260,000. I think it should be $50,000 or $100,000 maybe. Come to an agreement like that. And then I'll hear the argument from people that I talk to that say, Carl, dude, it's only a couple of dollars that you would get back if the MUA didn't have to pay that to the township. And I'll turn around and I'll say to you, you know what? It'd be even less money if we raise taxes for the whole township. It's only a little bit of money. What's the big deal? So if it's only a little bit of money to me as a ratepayer, how come it's not just a little bit of money to all the taxpayers in town? And I know nobody wants to raise taxes. I don't want to raise taxes. But I also don't want me as a ratepayer to be feeling like I'm getting double dipped here. It's not fair.
Joe, would you be kind enough to answer Mrs. Hopkins' question for the next meeting? Would you find out for us so we can read onto the record the reason behind the state formula for reimbursement to townships? Because some of the things that Carl mentioned are reasons why they do that. There are other reasons involved. I don't want to try to speak from something that I'm not 100% versed with. Would you be kind enough to have that information available to us so we can speak about it at the next meeting, please? Just as an informative thing. I appreciate that.
I think Sue was asking more about why
Well, no,
we have to replace the water lines.
no, it kind of dovetails into,
And that's fine. I don't have a problem with looking into that.
it dovetails in my thought problem, it dovetails into a financial analysis, but we just pushed that off.
So
Um,
I'm sorry.
Let's find out what it is for, and then we'll tackle to see if we can.
Correct. In addition to that, listen, we're faced here as a municipal government. We're faced with unfunded state mandates all the time. These are directions that are given to us from the state, and we're told to do them with no avenue for reimbursement. Okay, so that's a reality. It's a fact of life. I don't know yet, and the director's here. He may be able to answer on it. But when they brought these onerous demands onto the MUA and the water company, is there any mechanism to, because Carl said that we would have to raise rates because of it, is there any mechanism, which I believe there is, Mr. Shanker, that at some point there will be a reimbursement schedule for this? Is there not? That's another question. Joe, if you would be kind enough to find that out for us also, to find out these owners' demands that are putting on that are now going to strain their budget, hopefully for a temporary period of time until the reimbursement comes through, just like the American Recovery Act funds came through for us. So if you could verify that, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
So that would take care of one thing this year, but over the past, since I believe 2008, $2.9 million.
I'd like to add a little bit to this conversation. As a ratepayer, both business and residential, I have found that our water rates are extremely reasonable. And I've found out that whenever we need someone to find out about a clogged drain or whatever, MUA is there for us. The $260,000, I'm not totally educated on, but I do believe that this update with the hookup to the main pipes is something that is part of Build Back Better, and I do expect that we will have some kind of compensation and some direct money from the federal government for it. But that is what, I've gathered from this. I'm sure Art can, further explain how that happens. Yes.
You're more than welcome to, please.
So, first of all, Build Back Better was never passed, by the way.
Mr. Mayor, do you intend to swear the speaker?
I think it is. If he's going to testify, he should be sworn prior to,
By
because it's
what?
not public comment. If he wants to wait till public comment, he can do that also.
This is a first.
No, I'm not making anything up. I had a question from the solicitor. I have to answer the solicitor's question. I don't answer to you, Ms. Dix. He posed a question and he asked me a question, and I said I think that would be the proper way to proceed. If not, Mr. Shanker can wait until the end of the meeting. I don't want him to have to do that. I don't think he has an issue.
You asked me to come up here and answer some questions.
I said if
was
you
not
want to.
scheduled to testify.
Okay,
here tonight.
then why don't we wait? He can make his comments at the end of the.
You want to swear me in? Swear me in. I got nothing to hide.
That's what I didn't think so.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, forgive me. I'm a stand-in solicitor tonight. I'm just accustomed to seeing people sworn in before.
I understand, and that's why I took your advice. So
Sir, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
To the best of my ability, yes.
Thank you.
So, the Build Back Better bill was never passed. So this money was not be coming from that. There is some money that's coming from the federal government that is now in the state's hands that, as I reported the last meeting, I showed you where all that funding was coming. I did breeze over it because it's really, there's a lot of money out there, but it has not been divvied out, so to speak. They have not really talked much about how they're going to reimburse for these galvanized lines, which they now consider lead lines. So there's a lot of unknown at this point in time. Is there money available? Yeah, it's out there. There's money available. But I don't know how soon we're going to get it. Right now, they're talking about a lot of low interest loans, some principal forgiveness, and it all depends on whether you qualify for that. And it is a long process to get principal forgiveness. And as you know, with any kind of grants or any kind of gifts, there's always something you have to give in return. So I do believe that the MUA is going to get some relief from this. I don't know how much at this point in time. To Mr. Patali's point about what the township does for the MUA, which is very true, but there's also things that the MUA does that some towns don't allow. Fire hydrants. Do you imagine if you had to pay for every fire hydrant in this town, which you don't? And that's just one example. I didn't come here prepared to counter your claims or counter what's being talked about up here tonight. But what I can say is that, and I'm glad to hear that you're going to meet with the folks at the MUA because it hasn't happened until now, that all of this could have been talked about, that there is a lot of give and take between the MUA and the township, a lot of cost savings. So I don't really, I don't understand why there was so much misinformation here. I've been here. I'm here to answer any questions. I've been to too many meetings lately. But if you have any other questions, I'm here. Just ask away.
We appreciate that, Art. Thank you.
Anyone?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you do this hookup, are they gonna how are they going to do it without disturbing the curbs and that sort of thing?
Oh, well, for us to put a new service in, and not speaking about the service that goes to the house, that's all done underground. They go underneath the sidewalks and the curbs wherever they need to. But as far as in someone's lawn, that's a whole nother story. There will be contractors that will have to be hired to do that service. We plan to, as we are doing the water main replacement program, that we will identify all the houses that have galvanized lines and they will be added into the project. We didn't know on 3rd Street that this was going to need to be done at the time. It was still being discussed in the legislature. 3rd Street got completed, and there are about 13 homes along 3rd Street that have galvanized lines feeding their homes, which will have to be addressed at some time. When, I'm not quite sure. But our next project, as I had some conversation with Mr. Miller, I think it would be wise for the township to sit down with or at least the road program liaisons, to sit down with the MUA and talk about where we head next, because we have quite a bit of piping that needs to be replaced in the center of town, as you're all aware of. So that would be, in my opinion, the next move. If we're going to open up some dialogue, that would be very good for both sides as far as when roads need to be done and these mains need to be done. And so right now we are in the process. We just started discussion today about doing a survey, which is the next step after the letters that they had us send out. So now we are in the survey process, which we are going to try and survey a large portion of our services where we believe there is either galvanized or lead piping in there, and we need to clarify that and get it back to the DEP so we know exactly what we're looking at here. So a lot of this is unknown to us at this point in time because there was the pipe the pipe from the curb to people's houses never belonged to the MUA until now, and this just happened in November. So a lot of this is just getting up to speed with what has just been handed to us. And we're going to go from there.
I have another question. I know this is hyperbole, but I was thinking, is there a way that it can be tested at the water, at the individual homes, whether there's a high lead, content?
Okay, so every 3 years we do what's called lead and copper testing. We choose 40 houses in Hamilton Township that are high risk. Out of those 40 houses, I think we had one house that showed any signs of lead. That doesn't necessarily mean there's lead in the lines. It could be lead in the fixtures, because some of these houses are from the late 1800s. And if they're still using old fixtures, antique fixtures, they could contain lead. So, what the DEP is saying, well, let's get everything let's start removing the pieces that we can. So one of the houses that was affected in our last testing was on Main Street. The main on Main Street was replaced in 1986, so I'm pretty sure it's not the main. It could be the pipe going to the house. It could be the fixtures in it. So we're gonna now remove all possibilities, but we still do this testing. In Hamilton Township, the MUA has done such a good job, because we now test every 3 years for lead and copper, which means your success rate is so high that they allow you to go every 3 years instead of every 1 year. So that says a lot about what we're doing here. They also have been putting some things in the water that help the walls of the pipe so it doesn't deteriorate. And really, that's the problem with lead and galvanized piping. They deteriorate in particles of the lead, and the galvanized or the zinc detaches from the pipe, gets into your water, and then gets into your glass or your pot where you're cooking your pasta. So that's really, this has been being addressed for years. This isn't something that the MUA started doing yesterday. This has been going on for a long time. And because of the diligence of what they've done, our system is in very good shape. And our testing shows it. So anybody who got the letters, as I stated at the last meeting, anyone who's received one of those letters, we will test your water free of charge. Just let us know. We will come out and we will test it. We're pretty sure you're going to be okay, but it's required by the DEP that we offer this, and we have no problem doing it. So, we want to make sure everybody understands that, these letters had to go out. The DEP demanded it. We sent them out. We tried to tone it down just a little bit so that it didn't create hysteria. But there are people that have a definite chance of being exposed to low levels of lead. We have not found it yet, so we don't think that that's the case. So this is, again, when we sit down and we talk about what main is going to be taken care of next and what road we're going to do next, I think strong consideration needs to be put behind the age of the mains. We have mains in downtown Hamilton Township, or Maize Landing, that are from 1906. There's some that are from 1920, some from 1943. And right around that time, between 1943 and 1950, is where they stopped using lead altogether. As far as piping is concerned, there was lead in solder and stuff all the way up into the early 80s. So that's when that all started to go away. So these are just facts of what has progressed over time, and they're going to deal with it the best they can.
Mr. Shanker, just our new administrator would attest to this. We had a meeting for some time beforehand, and one of the things that we discussed was the road program, and he will attest to you that one of the things I said, the most important thing is to make sure that there's communication with the road program this year, and that's why we should have a 5-year plan and the roads graded so that we can coordinate with the MUA, the South Jersey Gas, Atlantic City Electric. Did I miss anyone, Joe? And make sure that the last thing we want to see is the Hamilton Township spending $300,000 a linear mile for a road to have it torn up by an agency after the fact. So right. I assure you that is on our radar, as it has been in the past and will continue to be. The other question I do have for you, is it in your opinion, and this is just your opinion, that, and I think you already answered it, but I just want to be clear, that yes, this is going to be onerous and a demand on the MUA at this time, because you have to do these and you have a plan moving forward, but you do see a reimbursement vehicle. You don't know what that is, yes, but you do see that money that you have to expend at this point and possibly borrow would be reimbursed at some level moving forward.
I don't know if it would be reimbursed. And let me say this. I wouldn't consider this onerous, first of all. I think it's just something that they have to deal with.
Right.
It's not something they weren't aware of. It's just there's now a clock ticking. Okay, so that changes the matrix of everything that they're doing. So there was already a 6-phase, which you've all probably seen. There's a 6-phase plan to replace the mains here in downtown Maize Landing. That plan is probably, I don't know, Andy, 3 years old, 4 years old? It's been around. So last year, we did the first phase, which wasn't always the first phase. 3rd Street was the first phase because the township got bonding to do that road. Okay, so, or excuse me, they got a grant to do 3rd Street.
So we talked to you to make sure that we wouldn't make that mistake.
This was before me, so that it was all put together. It was well run. So as I sent the latest revision of that 6-phase project to Peter Miller last week, I made it clear to him that this is the 3rd revision. Okay, which means we can change whatever our plan is to work with the road program. Like I said, I think it would be in our best interest and the interest of the ratepayers that we do the roads that are, or excuse me, we do the mains that are in desperate need more so than the ones that are a little newer. And they're all old, so let's not get confused here. So I mean, that's really where this has to go and what has to happen.
Okay.
But I will say, are we going to get the money? I think the money for our situation, from all that I've heard, we've had a few Zoom meetings, webinars with the DEP. I think we're more in line for low interest loans where they would be maybe a quarter of whatever the rate is at the time, maybe a half of what the rate is at the time. I think that's what we're more in line for. So yes, are we going to borrow money? Excuse me. But, you know, for all intents and purposes, that money's almost free, so to speak. Okay. So yes, we're going to have to bond for it. This is what we're looking at right now. We're looking at not only taking this out where we keep a 5-year look ahead with our budget, it really needs to be a 10-year. We need to eclipse this entire project to understand exactly how it's all going to lay out. So what a lot of people don't understand is that we have money on hand. That money on hand is for everything. It's for what our capital, whatever we want to do to our capital projects. It's also on hand for any time we have an emergency. And when an emergency happens, we don't have the decision to say, well, we'll fix that later. It has to be fixed then, right then. We just had a situation out on Route 40 with a sewer line that we had to fix right away. We just spent roughly $100,000 making that repair, which was not in the plan, but it is what it is. It's going to be in future plans, but it wasn't in that plan at that time. So you have to understand that the monies on hand are for that type of thing. Where we differ from the township is we are more driven to do projects in order to keep from having emergencies. But knowing those emergencies can happen at any time. A main breaks, we have to fix it. It's that simple.
Can you explain to us why it was so important to get out to that sewer problem on 40 and not delay?
Because the DEP frowns on sewer leaking into the ground.
And it takes some time even to...
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
It takes additional time to rectify it if it's left go.
Yes, and we were very fortunate in this situation. We actually brought out a company called Video Piping, and they went ahead and they cleaned and videoed the pipe for us, where we found out not only did we have the leak we were aware of, we had 2 other leaks. They were able to repair them without digging it up, and then they lined the pipe. Unfortunately, because it's under an emergency situation, it costs us more money. It's not like a bid where a bid's more competitive. Emergency is not as competitive. We needed it fixed right away because we cannot have raw sewage going into the ground. We have to do it as fast as possible.
Very good.
Anybody else?
All right. Thank you. No.
All right.
Just so there's no misconceptions or misunderstandings, I was the liaison for Public Works and Roads for 2020 and 2021, and we did check with the gas company and the MUA to make sure that we weren't paving something that was going to get ripped up a year or two later.
That is a factual statement, and that's why I asked Joe to make sure, because I saw, and we know that has not been the case in the past.
No, it hasn't.
So you and I have had many discussions on that, so I appreciate you doing that, and I just wanted to make sure that there's no way that could get missed. I don't want to overshadow with the additional comments. I think that the positive news that we're seeing here this evening is that open lines of communication are there. There's a willingness, especially with the new chairwoman, not through via emails, but from phone calls and personal face-to-face visits. And we will continue that until we resolve this once and for all. So I appreciate the willingness of them to work with us, and let's go ahead and work as a community and do what's right for the taxpayers and the ratepayers. So thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to B, low-speed vehicles. Now, I got to tell you, this is something that's pretty dear to my heart. This is something that came up. Greg, if you could come up just for preparation. Oh, you got it, my assistant. Several years ago, we undertook a process in this town led by our very own Dr. Kesselman. He and other members of committee and township residents undertook a series of strategic planning committees throughout the township. We made sure we covered each area, Weymouth, Cologne, Hamilton Township, Maize Landing downtown proper, Lauredale. We covered all the areas. We held multiple meetings over multiple nights. And those meetings were specifically to see what the residents of each one of those communities wanted in their community. And one of the things that we came up with that was prevalent was the embracing of a low-speed vehicle community. And I am a big fan of it. I think that low-speed vehicles, this historic town that we have, historic downtown, the struggle that we have on Main Street, I believe that if we create a low-speed vehicle community, we allow the opportunity for more access points to those residents downtown while creating a sense of camaraderie and neighborhood in our town. So I spoke with the chief. And he remembered the meetings. He got right to work on it. He likes the idea. He's got his professionals here. I see Mr. Sergeant Smith in the back.
Yes,
and we're taking a very hard look at this. And tonight, we'd like to just give a brief overview, if we could, Chief, of what we're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, so the mayor and I had a discussion, and he asked if I could look into it. And he asked me tonight to just go over some of the findings that we had to see if the committee wants to move forward with it. So you're going to ask, what's a low-speed vehicle? So it's a four-wheel electric-powered vehicle, so it can't be gas. It's got to be electric. It's got to be able to attain a speed of at least 20 miles an hour, but not less than 25 on a level surface. The original manufacturer's vehicle identification number die has to be stamped on the body of the vehicle. It's got to be equipped with seatbelts, turn signals, speedometer, and odometer. It is exempt from motor vehicle inspection, so you don't have to get it inspected every year. It requires a valid licensed driver to operate the LSV. So I used to live out in Laureldale, so I have a golf cart, and it's not totally street legal. So what's happening is now, just so everybody's aware, you may see it now around the township, people driving their golf carts, and maybe you'll see a bunch of kids driving the golf carts and stuff like that, which it's really not safe. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a better community feel, but we're also trying to make it safe for the community as well. So anybody that's driving these vehicles, they'll have to be licensed. So it's going to try to keep the kids from driving them and everything. It's not a conventional golf cart. So these vehicles or these golf carts that a lot of people are buying that are driving down like Stone Harbor, Ocean City, and things of that nature, their motors, they go between 20 and 25 miles an hour. A lot of those golf carts that you see when you're playing golf don't go 25 miles an hour. So it's going to be a little bit faster than that. And they also must display information that says that it's a low-speed vehicle, 25 miles an hour. Registration, so it's got to be registered with DMV. It's got to be insured according to Title 39, which governs our traffic laws. And it must display a license plate. violations, they would all be subject to Title 39. So you're not necessarily going to be speeding, but you're going to have to wear your seatbelts and all those things. Once again, it also requires that if you need a seatbelt, if your child's in the vehicle, they have to be wearing a seatbelt. If they would normally have to be in a child safety seat, they're going to have to be in a child safety seat. So it's 80 pounds or 8 years old. Operational areas. So this is what Aaron and Sergeant Smith took a tour of the township today. So what's great about our township, we think that we can get a lot of the areas kind of like hooked up together between talking to the county and the state DOT to try to get everybody in a certain area to be able to drive around and things of that nature. So let's see here. So downtown Maize Landing, for the most part, all the way from Clarkstown Road, all the way to downtown Maize Landing to both sides of Lenape Lake, we should be able to have low-speed vehicles. It's going to do, there's going to be a little work on Sergeant Smith's behalf because he has to, if you guys say move forward with this tonight, he's going to have to contact the state DOT to make sure that they'll allow low-speed vehicles on Main Street. We have a workaround if they don't, but rather not use it. So it's going to, like I said, you'll be able to go all back in this area. That wasn't me moving, just so you know. All right, hold on. Okay, yeah, okay. So you're not going to be able to go on Summers Point Maze Landing Road, but all this back area, so all back Clarkstown Road, you'll be able to cross over, and we should be able to get to Babcock and Chancellor's Place and everything like that, right, Wade? 25 miles an hour, correct? So we can connect the dots pretty well. The only dots we can't connect is Laureldale's kind of on an island by itself. So we got to try to connect the dots on both sides of Laureldale. And the only way to do that is to petition the state to try to get a couple roads that they can actually cross over 50. So I think it's a great idea. As long as, everybody's on board, I'd like to have Wade start moving forward with talking to the state and everybody like that so we can get the ball rolling. And then once we get the approvals from the DOT and the county and things of that nature, we can move forward and we can write up the ordinance and we can present it to you guys.
Committee, questions or comments? I love the idea, Chief. I appreciate you taking the ball and running with this. Sergeant, thank you very much for your help with this. Aaron, thank you for your involvement. I think it's a great idea. I think it really does promote community, our community.
The problems that I see with it is the lower speed and people trying to get to A and B.
All right, so this is where it's good. So it's only on 25-mile-an-hour roads. So these carts should go 25 miles an hour. So that might actually help us too, slowing people down.
Little speed control.
Little speed control. So it might be a good thing.
So is there for instance, if a person just wants to go 10 miles an hour down Main Street and not, is that going to be a problem? Is there a lower speed that has to be monitored?
I think it would be the same as a passenger car traveling at 10 miles an hour. They're going to have the capability to do the same speed for the for the road speed of 25 mile an hour.
Sergeant Smith wants to talk.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. I understand that.
Nope, you got to talk on the microphone, please.
Here.
Don't mess with Lisa.
Because the vehicles are to be able to maintain the 25, then would fall under Title 39 where they would be delaying traffic. So if the car would want to go 10 miles an hour, it would be delaying traffic as a normal vehicle would. So they would need to maintain at least at 25 miles an hour in the 25 mile an hour zones.
And I've seen a number of young kids just breeze down Park Road without any license. And what about the enforcement on this? Will it be a difficult thing to enforce?
Well, no, all right. No, it wouldn't be. So, obviously it would take enforcement by the police department. Title 39 covers it. So actually without an ordinance, we could drive low speed vehicles on our roadways right now. Only on the 25-mile-an-hour roads, but we wouldn't be able to connect the dots like we're trying to do. So, for instance, where Sugar Hill Inn is, the roadway's 30 in front of there. So the roadway's 30 in front of where Sugar Hill Inn is and Neville's Freddie J's. So what we have to do with the county is we have to go to the county with our ordinance after we pass it and say to them, listen, we would like to get the low speed vehicles, or I guess in conjunction, before we do the ordinance, correct?
It was suggested that if we do move forward and we get permission from the state DOT, that we would make a draft and then we would get the county on board to let them know that we're serious about how we want to proceed with this, so that they would then put their forces to it.
So basically, that's where the county gets involved to be able to connect the dots, to make the plan a whole plan, not just sporadic all over the place. Because technically right now under Title 39, you could have those low-speed vehicles as long as they meet the requirements, registration, insurance, seatbelts, blinkers, and all that they could drive around our township now in 25-mile-an-hour areas.
Yeah, well, I know my brother-in-law who had Hidden Creek. Well, this is an EHT. Those recreational vehicles were nonstop and very illegal and going on private property.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something else to address. That you just can't drive them everywhere. That this would be a legal place to drive, or.
Agreed. They're bound by all Title 39 laws and regulations.
Yeah.
And I think eventually it would be a selling point for people in their homes. I mean, being part of a low-speed community, a community that's active with one another and embraces something like this.
Agreed. I mean, you have the fairways now by the golf course that they have golf carts there now. I don't believe that they're all street legal, but this gives them the option to, or it kind of forces them to get up to where they need to be. So
it's pretty common down in Florida and that sort of thing. We had occasion to visit in Venice, and some of the younger people don't like the older people driving so slow. So there's that.
We'll have to speed them up then.
This all approves for National Night Out. Could we get it so everybody can attend National Night Out in their golf cart?
We'll see what we can do.
That would be nice. I think that would be a great one. All right, let's see if we can get that done by then.
I see a lot of golf cart dressing competitions.
Yeah.
How do you?
I had a
vision your
vacation
golf
home in a low-speed vehicle community, and it was an annual event. They had over 300 square miles of roads which you could drive on, and every year there was a parade, and it was the biggest event in the area for they had a golf cart parade or a low-speed vehicle parade. So
yes.
Mardi Gras in the golf cart.
Actually, no, it was in the Poconos. In the Poconos, yes.
I was there this weekend.
And everyone has one of those.
And it's green.
Yeah.
And it's green.
And it's green, right, exactly. So
Great idea.
I think fantastic. I appreciate you jumping on board, Chief. And Sergeant, thank you very much for your work on this. And I look forward to us moving quickly and keeping the public informed of how we're moving forward.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee, any other questions or comments? If not, hearing none, we do not have to take any action on this. Correct, Chief? You don't need anything from us this evening to proceed?
No, I'm just
Sergeant, anything you need from us to proceed?
No, I'm just going to have them move forward with it.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we're going to move on to C. This is a fee schedule for use of facilities. Joe, would you just
Sure, Mayor.
give a little background, please?
Not a problem. Honestly, this is just a simple ordinance establishing for-profit and nonprofit fees for use of facilities. That's all it is, establishing the difference between use for nonprofit and profits.
Does the committee have any questions or comments that they'd like to make on this?
Yeah, so going through it, reading, I'm just trying to figure out some things. I know it's going back in time quite a bit before everything became so organized. Is this going to affect people who just want to go to the hockey courts and throw their sticks in the middle and throw, do what you did picking teams? And are we still going to be able to do that? My chief is shaking his head no, and then yes. I'm getting mixed signals.
Well,
I feel like I'm in the friend zone.
All right. So the problem we've been experiencing is this. We have our recreational facilities that are being used by township residents in organized sports. But then we have some for-profit organizations that aren't paying anything. And we're basically paying for their business, how they operate, which to me as a taxpayer is unacceptable. And we're really the only township in the area of our size that allows that to happen. So we're just trying to get up to speed with everybody else. So,
and I'm with you on that. I mean, you and I talked about that a little bit. You kind of got me up, and then I just started thinking. I know on New Year's Day, there's a group of guys that go down and play hockey on New Year's Day. We're really
or
old
football.
and fat.
Yeah, yep.
It's not much. Trust me, we're not damaging anything. I just don't want to see that get taken away. And I know it became a problem because we used to play on Wednesday nights and it was a battle to get the lights on for us. And I just don't,
The other thing that we don't want either is, we want all kids to benefit from sports and everything, but it comes back to our kids in the township, taking care of them first. So you'll see in this amendment, there's a portion of some of the monies that will be charged if a kid lives out of the township and wants to play in our rec facilities. There's a fee for that. And I believe it's $25 if I remember correctly. So, it's all about giving back to our recreational program. We have other recreational programs in the township that a majority of the kids are from out of our township, and they're using our fields for nothing.
Right.
Once again, it's just unacceptable. This is very much up to par with Galloway and Egg Harbor Township. It's basically a hybrid of what they do. Very reasonable. We're not asking too much, and we're not asking more than what they're asking. So, if you look over it and you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it.
I got it. Had an email about it.
I've looked over it, and I think it's a very reasonable ordinance that for a long time we have subsidized this, and our residents need to have the value of playing on our property. My question is, will this be retroactive?
So this year, some of the applications are being approved as we speak. I've had Carol Wright explain to them that this ordinance is being in the process of being updated right now, and there may be charges to the facilities use at that time throughout this year. So they're all aware that there might be retro fees coming to them.
That sounds good.
Chief, do you need action from us at this time, or is this something that this is informational purposes and we'll bring it up at the next meeting since we have a knowledge of it?
It's for informational purposes now. I just want you guys to take a look at it to see if it's what you guys want to go or the way you want to go, or if we're right there. I'll sit down with the new administrator and we'll come up with an ordinance and we can present it to you at the next meeting.
I think by the comments and the remarks up here, we're in support of it. So we'd look forward to getting that information from you.
All right, perfect.
I have a question. If township residents, school kids or whatever, just have a pickup game and they're not organized, it's just it's 4-on-4 or whatever.
That's fine. They can't, when they go down to a ball field, as long as there's no organized sports being played, they can get out. I'll give you, this is a perfect, for instance, hockey courts. For several years, they've been locked up. they can't be locked up. They're going to unlock the hockey courts. So if your kids want or your grandkids want to go down and play, or my son wants to go down and play, they'll have that right too. We're going to also have to make an amendment for an enforcement portion of it for the hockey courts, what can and cannot be done on those courts.
Absolutely agree.
So we'll put that into the amendment as well.
And you'll unlock the hockey courts?
We will unlock the
I
hockey
want
courts.
Carl to jump the fence.
Jump in anything.
I will say this though, I would ask that we only unlock one of the hockey courts. The other court has a deck on it, and you have to be very careful how you utilize that. And that was purchased by the MLAA Hockey to put on that court. So I would ask that we just unlock the one that's the asphalt surface, and we'll leave the other one locked for now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great, Chief.
All right.
We'll wait to get that from you and Joe, and then we'll act on it when you do, okay?
perfect. Thank you.
so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on to 4, public hearing, adoption of ordinances. This is ordinance 1981-2022, an ordinance to amend Chapter 203 of the Township Code entitled Land Use Development, specifically Section 203-110. We've spoken about this several times. This comes from many discussions at the planning board level. We briefly touched on, I believe, at the last meeting. When you sit at the planning board, a lot of applications come before the board where individuals are stuck because they live on a paper street, an unimproved paper street, or they live on a street where their front yard is considered a second street, because anywhere in the township, from the back side of your house to the nearest street is considered your front yard. So if you're looking to do something in that area, you must come before the planning board in order to get a variance. We see a lot of these applications that don't make sense. In order to be more efficient at the planning board level, after much discussion, the planning board level would like to see some of these applications based on the criteria that's in the paper, the ordinance in front of us, be able to be done administratively. It makes a lot of sense. Again, I'm going to go back to those words, smaller government. It's one less step a person would have to take in order to do something on their own property. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward ordinance. It'll save time from your volunteers at the planning board member, and it'll make it simpler on the public that would like to do something in their yard. Joe, did I capture that?
Perfect, sir.
Thank you. So committee, this is up for adoption. It is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing, Mr. Stry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will this be considered a administrative review?
In this case, for certain applications, yes, Mr. Stry.
Okay. Will the applications be reviewed administratively according to the ordinance? And the reason I ask is the ordinance, I believe, requires a professional to review it, which I think we've been kind of lacking over the years in that. So I think that's an important question to me.
The zoning officer, engineer, administrator shall review the plan submitted to ensure the unimproved street in section 1 will not be improved in the future. If such way is, it says the zoning officer, the township engineer, and the administrator.
And that'll be, I assume, strictly adhered to? In other words, a professional looking at the plan.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's written right into the ordinance, Mr. Stry.
Okay, and well, the only reason I'm asking is because in previous situations, that has not been the case.
I know some of the previous instances that you're referring to, and I believe it's covered in this.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Bruce, there is a copy of this on file. I mean, obviously,
understand.
if you see language that's flawed, we'd be more than happy to consider language, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Committee? I'm sorry. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, seeing, Mr. Stry?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I heard a couple of comments. Now, you said planning board, okay? Shouldn't typically the front yard setback, that usually goes to the zoning board, which it's not going to, but.
As you know, there are members that cross over, sit both boards.
Okay.
This is a general concern from both boards, but the request is coming through the planning board.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Cheek, a second by Mrs. Link. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
Next, we'll move on to introduction of ordinance. This is ordinance 1982-2022, an ordinance authorizing the sale of lot 17 in block 369 as shown on the tax map of the Township of Hamilton and granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to the same the right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, and State of New Jersey. There will be a public hearing on this on March 21st, 2022. We see these are being done administratively now. They're being brought to our attention. It's pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments from committee?
So the administrator comes up with the cost for this property?
Actually, no, that is, I hesitant to tell you what the process is. It's a combination of review with the tax assessor, and yes, then that is when the value is put on the property. A lot of these represent unbuildable lots and lots that are, when you look back at the zoning that was done in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, everything was chopped into 50 by 100 lots. So when we sit here and look at plans from a planning and zoning standpoint, we constantly see the consolidation of, if you look at this plan, you can see that's the amount of lots that we had to look at in order to deal with the little pink dot in the middle because of the way the zoning and planning was back then. This is just helping clean that up and get these on the tax rolls. So if we approve the sale, that portion that is not being collected taxes will now be paid by the individual that's purchasing it.
Very good.
Committee, questions or comments? If not,
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
I am going to read a brief description of the next one because it's the same exact thing. This is ordinance 1983-2022 for sale of lot 5, block 805, and granting to the owners of contiguous property the right of first refusal or the refusal to purchase. This is same exact thing. There is copies in your packet where you can see the property. It's been reviewed and it's up for request.
Well, I see on this one, the property is assessed at 41.4 and administrator recommends we sell it for 15,000. So if it's worth 41, why are we selling it for 15? And my next question is, Is this so that whoever owns the other property gets them enough property to then develop it, build a house?
I don't know the particulars on this, Carl. You have the same information we do, but it says the previous home sustained extensive fire damage after a number of years. The township stopped in and demolished the house. So I believe they're trying to put the two pieces together in order to build a home or homes. But we are familiar with the property and the eyesore that property's been. So,
And then that adds 41,000 to the tax roll.
correct. And of course, it would be reassessed after the properties are combined at the next reeval. So.
Oh, Carl, you know what I think it is? Because I had the same question you did. That lot individually is 15 and the collective when they do the total land assessment's 41.
It just says land. It was $41,000 for the land. There's no house on it. The house was knocked
The
down.
house is burned down.
There is a note here of the recommendation to restrict it specifically to that property as a non-conforming lot. So even though the assessment is at 41.4, it's a non-conforming lot, which would require, which appears at this point that it's a non-buildable lot. Therefore, they've readjusted through the tax assessor. His signature is on here, Mr. Johnson's on 2/22/22, that the fair market value of that property is $15,000 and the recommended bid would be $15,000.
I have a question.
Professionally
Was this piece of property where we took down a house that was almost crumbling? Is this that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's a house that, you see the address there,
Yeah.
Miss Link. It's the 7th Street property so.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
All right. The next one is C. This is ordinance 1984-2022, an ordinance to vacate a portion of Columbia Avenue described by meets and bounds and located in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. A public hearing will be held on April 4th, 2022. Committee? Questions, comments, motion?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins, a second by Mr. Vitale. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Abstain.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstention. Introduced.
Next, we'll move on to 5D. This is ordinance 1985-2022, an ordinance to vacate a portion of 6th Street described by meets and bounds and located in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. A public hearing will be held on April 4th, 2022. Hearing no
moved.
questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale, second by Mrs. Link. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
All right, next we'll move on to 6A. This is the awards of bids and contracts and or change orders. This is a resolution amending to amend Resolution 2022-002, award a professional service contract, Labor Council, to reflect the names change. The service has not changed. The individual that we have hired over the last several years, his Labor Council has split from his partner at an amicable split. They're handling different things. He's handling labor, the partner's handling something else. They just want the contract to reflect the actual name of the individual, which is Bill Blaney. So it's just a formality. Questions, comments, motion?
Motion.
I have
Second.
a motion. Second. Rita, roll call, please. We can do an aye vote on that. We're not spending money, right?
Yes.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next we'll move on to B. This is a resolution rejecting all bids for turf maintenance, bid 22-01. They were opened on February 25th, and according to 40-A:11-13-2, we are going to authorize to rebid. Any questions or comments on this?
I understand the bids were very high and that we wanted to go for rebid.
You know what? I'm going to let the expert speak on this. Cynthia, do you have a quick moment?
The bids were received, and the bids that were received, they were very unbalanced as far as what we received. Some of them were $30,000, some of them were $8,000. The specifications on the technical level were not clear enough to distinguish between labor and materials. So some bidders bid only on labor, and some bidders bid labor and materials. So the local public contracts allows specific reasons to reject the bids and to revise those specifications to make them more clear.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion by Mr. Vitale. I have a second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, roll call, please.
I gave a second already.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. Second by Ms. Link. Mrs. Link? Apologize, Judy.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, next we'll move on to consent agenda. We have items A through D. Does anyone have an issue with any of those items? I'm sorry, A through E, forgive me. Oh. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Cheek,
Second.
second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Ms. Blank?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
We'll move on to personnel. A, resolution to promote Lieutenant Anthony Alcott to the rank of captain at a salary of $142,200. This will be effective March 8th, 2022. For those that are available, I see the new captain joining us this evening. His swearing in will be here 10:30 tomorrow morning. I encourage everyone to please come out and support him. He's done an amazing job for our department. This is a rightful position. We're happy to see him.
10 o'clock.
10
Oh,
o'clock.
forgive me. I had down 10:30. I would have been late. Ooh. 10 a.m., please. I need to change mine here. So you don't have to do that with me, but I appreciate it. So that is 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Anthony, congratulations. Well deserved. We do appreciate you. Committee?
So moved.
Well, everybody's jumping at that one. So I'm going to give that Miss Hopkins and second by Mrs. Link, please. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Congratulations. Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we'll move on to B, resolution to appoint William Shurshek as a regular full-time fire prevention inspector at $48,500 annually, effective 3/21 of 22.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
We'll move on to C. C is a motion to accept the resignation of Frank Williams as a member of the Veterans Advisory Board. I'd like to thank Frank for his years of service with that board. Frank's an amazing person. We appreciate him for his service there and his service to his country.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Rita, roll call, please. No, we can aye vote that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Resolution appointing Peter Eskbach as Veterans Advisory Member for an unexpired 3-year term expiring 12/31 of 23.
So moved.
A motion by Mr.
Second.
Vitale, second by Mrs. Link. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. We're getting right through this. Approval A, minutes, regular meeting minutes of February 22nd of 2022.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Cheek, second by Mr. Vitale. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? B, minutes, executive session meeting minutes of February 22nd, 2022.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Vitale, second by Mrs. Link. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right. Lastly, bills. Bill list total $1,094,100.
$194,000.
I was correcting myself. $1,094,180.32.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Link.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cheek. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Mr. Administrator.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you, honestly, for allowing me to be part of this community. I look forward to working with each and every one of you, including the public. A little bit about myself real fast. I'm like a quarterback, direct, encouraging, always looking for improvement. So my door is always open. Please come and speak with me. Call me. I'm available to help everybody. So I believe in creating a correct environment for all residents. And I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity.
We're looking forward to working with you, Joe. Thank you. Mr. Interim Solicitor.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Nothing to report. Okay, thank you. Joe, everybody waits for you. You're like a rock star. We all wait for Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Basically, the main thing is 33 center construction. So far, good. The only really thing I have is 3rd Street's under construction, and so far everything's going smooth. Obviously, we're just getting started, but so far so good.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right, Township Committee members. Mrs. Link.
Okay. As we're all aware, I'm sure, of the tragedies over in Ukraine, we have local people that are suffering from the fact that their relatives are in basements at the border of Poland. 86-year-old mother-in-law, the brother and wife of Mrs. Venencia are all, like they don't know what the next thing is going to happen. And so I went to visit her today. She has the European Skin Care and Therapeutic on Main Street. And she expressed to me that if you were going to give a donation, she would gladly take a cash donation to the Ukrainian church in Philadelphia, because a lot of the donations you might consider have to go through the red tape. And these people need these things now. Now, her son is in the military, and she has also collected many military boots and jackets, which I'll show you right now. Put this up here. She allowed me to bring these. She said, if you're going to donate any boots, they have to have a very thick sole because they need it for, you're traveling through mud and all sorts of things. They have the bulletproof vests, but they don't have the weather jackets like this. Now you can purchase them online and bring them to her. She'll take them directly to the Ukrainian church in Philadelphia, and anything would be greatly appreciated. It was very tearful meeting with her today, and we just have to support these people in any way we can. Thank you.
Very good comments, Mrs. Link. Carl?
I had a conversation today with Mr. Antonucci from Congressman Van Drew's office. We expect to have an answer about the federal funding for the dam by the end of the week.
Fantastic.
So fingers crossed, things look good, but we don't want to jinx it. So let's hope things break our way, save us a lot of money. Just like Joe said, 3rd Street looks good. Obviously avoid the area if you can, go a different way. They're moving along really, really well. The weather's been good, so looks like it might rain this week. Hopefully the weathermen are wrong and they just keep moving right along. I stopped and looked at it today. It was really, it's just very exciting to see that new sidewalk and the curbs done. It's gonna look really, really good. It's right in the middle of town. It's awesome.
A little premature on that road, though, right? It wasn't that bad.
I agree.
One of the worst roads in the town, so it's nice to see it finally.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. Like Judy said, Ukraine, just thoughts and prayers for them. I can't imagine. You've seen other things happen in the world where it seems like the people of that country just lay down and get rolled over by somebody. With what happened in Afghanistan, it's sad. And then you see Ukraine where they're fighting, and it really shows it's something else. It really is. It's something else to watch them. They have no training, and they're going and getting weapons from their government, and there they are. They're going to fight. So whatever we can do to help them, I wish we could do more, but that's not up to Hamilton Township to send anything over there really, except for money and supplies, like Judy said. So do what you can. If you can reach down and afford to spend a little bit, give them a little bit of money. Hopefully it gets to the right people, and it helps them in their fight to stay free and not under Russian rule. I took a walk around. I'm sorry.
It's a democracy, right?
Yeah. I took a walk around over Atlantic County Park, Lenape East. Lots of work over there. New bulkhead. it's over-engineered in my eyes. It's only it's non-tidal water, and there's this big bulkhead getting put in like it's on the ocean.
Well, we better have that dam.
Yeah. But two big ramps going down to the beach. So it's really it'll be accessible to anybody. It looks sharp. The ramps are very wide. It's going to look sharp. I wish there was money in there to work on the lighthouse, but I digress. What are we going to do? It is what it is. I'm not sure about some of the other things that are going on. I believe there's some kind of there's going to be a stage. They haven't started working on that yet. Pickleball courts, they haven't started working on that yet. The entranceway, they tore it down, and Judy and I were talking about that. It was sad to see that come down. I worked there years ago, as many of us in Maize Landing did as kids. You know, that was, you either worked at Lenape Park or Wheaton's or Craig Testing. Those were your options. And I worked at two of them. So it was sad to see that come down. They are rebuilding it. I'm really not sure what it's going to look like. I hope it looks like it did. Fingers crossed with that. But it's nice to see some work going on over there. I think I'm just looking forward to seeing that get done, and then and us being able to use it. It's kind of stinks not being able to use that park. And that's really it. Reagan, Maddie, miss you.
Can I add a little?
I hope you see you soon. Go ahead.
They did take 35 trees down.
Yeah.
Okay. And they they're putting in a total irrigation system. And they said on the plan that they're going to be putting 80 trees back, 5-year trees, but they're not the big, glorious trees that we had there. And some were, ready to come down, I guess. But they're changing Lenape Park, and hopefully for the best. And also the staging area where most cars park on asphalt, they're putting in the permeable asphalt. They're putting in a whole new area for parking, and the road that goes down to Lenape will also be new. It will be a permeable membrane, asphalt. I was a little disappointed that they just took all those trees, those Bradford pears that were leading to Lenape down. They cut them down. And, I guess they have they're trying to widen that road that goes down there. That perhaps will be the reason. But, keep an eye on it. They're spending a ton of our money there. And it's our park. So, thank you.
Carl, thank you for your comments. Ms. Hopkins.
Didn't get my chocolate tonight. I actually had a couple questions, Joe, for you. I was listening to the chief talk about the hockey court being open, and we just recently reopened our Olympic-sized swimming pool in the Hess School. So my question goes out to the group. Can we use Nixle to communicate out to the folks at these recreational facilities that have been closed for a long period of time are now reopening to the public? So some kind of campaign to that effect is...
An information campaign?
Yep. That was one I had on there. Park Road. We've had a lot of comments from a lot of folks down on Lily Lane and some of the other areas that would like to join the meeting that we've set up for March 15th at 7:00 here in the Municipal Park. So I'd like to go on record as saying, yeah, if anybody that wants to come in and for the Park Road discussion, please feel free to come in. Water main replacement chart. If I could get a copy, that would be awesome. Status on the dog park. We actually are getting a dog park. And we've been looking at sites, probably 20, 25 sites. We've narrowed it down to our top 3. So we're looking at the exploration and kind of negotiating for the final closure on those 3, and then we'll be able to announce the location. But it's coming. I didn't want you to think we'd forgotten about it. The dog park is coming. The progress on the Lighthouse. So the Lighthouse we've raised a little over 400,000 in funding. We are waiting on the paper. The county is going to issue a piece of paper to another 503C. And with that, the funding will go into there. And then the final steps, if you will, on the bids, if you will, that we've received will get finalized so that we can repair the Lighthouse and bring it back into good standing. We were kind of hoping to have it done in tandem with the construction ongoing now, but there's a lot of moving parts. And so I think the county is probably holding off on the paperwork until the park gets closer to being finished before we go into the second phase with the Lighthouse. So we did the Lighthouse, we did the dog park.
Where would the dog parks be?
There's like out of 20 locations, we've down selected the 3. I really don't want to disclose the 3 until we can make sure that they're all applicable, but we're down to those bottom 3 and then we're in. I think that's it for me. Other than I'm going to do the purple electric golf cart with the tiki fringe. I've already got mine laid out. I'm ready.
Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Good stuff. Mr. Chief.
Very quickly, I'm sure everybody's hearts and prayers are in Ukraine right now. And you look at that and you look at how those people are living and how they're surviving, and God bless that they are surviving. Like Carl said, they're fighting back. And for all of us here, God bless America.
Absolutely. Amen. Thank you, Mr. Chief. Well, first of all, I'm very happy to report that after public comment last week, Committeeman Hopkins was listening. Immediately after the meeting, she reached out. She requested of me and reached out to me and asked me if I would attend a meeting with members of the HPC. We did so within just a few days. The chairman was in attendance. Ms. Petty was in attendance. Ms. Rolls was in attendance. That meeting went for quite a while. We looked at many different things, pros and cons of different things. I believe that we came up with a very viable resolution. Out of respect for the balance of the committee, I would like them to be able to meet with that committee, discuss it with their full committee, and then that recommendation will come back to this committee for formal action to be taken. So I want people to know when you stand at that microphone and you make comments, there's 5 of us up here. We all have the best interest of the township at heart, but we also all have different areas that we focus on. So the comments were picked up by Ms. Hopkins. She thought it was something that she wanted to tackle. I believe that she's come up with a very good solution. The HPC is on board with us. Sue and I are going to meet with each, and after they take action, providing they take action, we're going to meet personally with each of the pocket site owners. We're going to give them an option to opt in and or opt out, because as some people may want to opt out, there are people that may want to be in it because there are some financial incentives that are currently tied to it, and there's ones that are in the pipeline that may come in the future. We don't want to exclude them. So at this point, when we work together as a committee and a community, when we listen, you bring us issues, we find solutions. That's the way this is supposed to work, and it benefits the township as a whole. So I'm very happy to report that. I'm looking forward to the conversation in return from the HBC. But first of all, I want to thank Cheryl. I want to thank the chairman and Ms. Rolls for taking the time, taking a serious coming meeting with us, sitting down in a room. Sue had that chalkboard marked up for every possible scenario, and within a short period of time, maybe an hour and a half, we came up with a resolution, and I think it'll make everyone happy. So I look forward to them presenting it. I would present it this evening, but I think it's only out of respect. They're volunteers. We should respect them and let them go ahead and have that discussion. So I'd like to thank Peter. I know I had the opportunity to thank him last week for the time that he spent here. He was a tremendous wealth of knowledge, and I think that he was instrumental in helping us move a lot of things forward in this town. Joe, we're expecting big things of you. And I can tell you from the interviews that we sat in with Joe, the personal meetings we've had, and the interaction I had my first night with meeting prep, I'm very impressed. So I think that it'll work out just fine, and we're excited we're working forward with you.
And we're
Chief, I appreciate you extending an invitation to our new administrator to help take him around, see the town, and pretty much give him a lay of land. Thank you for that, and I appreciate that. Something else exciting. I have to sit up here and I have to say our industrial commission has done an amazing job. Charlie, you're sitting back there. I appreciate it. I think that, a combination of individuals led by Mr. Pritchard that have looked at what could possibly happen in that park. They made some tough decisions. We put people in charge of marketing that park. We all know them. And with the help of the Industrial Commission, the laws that were put in place for redevelopment rehabilitation that the planning board worked on and this township committee worked on, we're looking at excess of $3 million in unanticipated revenue next year. I can't tell you what that means to a community and to a budget. But what it does mean is with the activity in our industrial park, we're going to probably put the Industrial Commission out of a job at some point. So I've had some conversations. I know I briefly touched on this. I had some conversations with the chairman. I addressed the board several weeks ago, and we have now started on the legal process. As you know, last year's budget was extremely strained. We suffered a $30 million loss of commercial ratables. It impacted our budget substantially. We're seeing just the opposite with this now. We're seeing the fact that our budget's stabilizing. We know we have some issues. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But at the end of the day, I think that the talent that we have on that industrial commission, each and every member represent different parts of this town, just like this committee does up here. And their willingness to work for the betterment of the entire town, I think the time is now to transition the industrial commission from an from an industrial commission concentrating solely on the park to an economic development commission to concentrate on the entire town. Anything that we can do from a commercial ratable standpoint offsets the revenues and taxes you pay on a daily basis, because commercial establishments do not send kids to schools. You do not have to build schools. So, Charlie, I'm looking forward to working closely with you. I believe we got a first draft from Mr. Sandman, some information. Over the next couple of weeks, we will disseminate that. I'm sure we'll have several meetings, and we'll come up with an announcement back to the public. But I'm very excited about it, and my hat's off. Again, I can't tell you, I support and I talk about the boards in this town all the time. We have amazing boards, and I appreciate when they can work closely with us and great things can happen. So, lastly, I want to talk about the budget. I'm very happy to report that we will finalize the budget for presentation at the next meeting. We have probably one or two more meetings. I believe the Deputy Mayor Cheek and I, along with our CFO, Ms. Lindsay, have compiled a budget that does not negatively impact resident taxpayers. It addresses all aspects of our community's way of life. We've addressed public safety. We've addressed public works. We've addressed recreation, and we've addressed quality of life issues throughout the entire community. We hope to have it finalized this week. A pre-copy will be given to each of the committee members so that they can review it, they can offer their input, and hopefully we'll have a presentation at the next meeting if the remaining committee members get their stuff back to us in a timely manner. So it's very exciting. I think it's going to be a fantastic budget based on the circumstances that we've faced. I thank prior committees for keeping this township in responsible hands and paying attention to it, and a healthy surplus. I believe we're going to end up with a healthy surplus when it's all said and done once again. So I'm excited to talk about that, and I can't wait to have the budget presentation put in front of you. And one note of business, I brought it up at the meeting, I want to say months ago, and it was cleaned up. I drove through there this evening. I noticed the trash at the Festival of Hamilton is horrendous. We need to reach out to the festival and let them know, if you drive from Leipzig Avenue across the driveway into Festival and take the driveway to re-enter Route 40, it looks like a dump. It is terrible. It's the worst I've ever seen it. They need to be made aware of it, and they need to clean that up right away. So that is all I have. I think everyone has made their comments about Ukraine. Listen, our hearts and prayers are with them. Anytime we have the opportunity to protect democracy, we have to be a part of it. So with that, I'll end my comments and I'll open it up to the public that's here this evening. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak? Susan.
I better put my hand up. I'm slow. I can't run. Hi, Susan Lazarchik, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm chair of the Green Team. And I know, I just wanted to make a comment, like the light vehicle thing is great, but I think that's for a certain kind of socioeconomic population. And I know you were talking about sidewalks too, and I just want to reiterate that I think it would be a really good time to do the complete and green streets policy for all. And in the neighborhood plan, it mentions doing a complete streets program. And I know the Green Team tried to do one a few years ago. We were told no, and there's resources for it. And I don't know a lot about, I'm still learning. I know a lot about sustainable Jersey, but I'm still learning. And if you have a complete streets policy, there's awarded points on DOT grant applications if you have it. I think it would be really time for you guys to reconsider it. The Green Team is certainly willing to work with you. There's cross-county connection. There's resources to help get it done. And I think what complete streets is for is to benefit everybody in the township. Bicycle, I'm an amputee. There's places when we did our, and I don't know if all of you have the audit that we did last year, the Green Team did. I know Carl was involved, the chief was involved, and it's one of our students did, and it's good stuff. It would be really great time to do that. And
Well, I heard you say that Carl was involved. I don't believe any of us were. So
well, in the
there's
pedestrian
information
audit.
Obviously Carl works with, if there's information that he wants to bring forth, or if there's information you want to provide to the entire committee, we'd be more than happy to look at it.
So in that regard, just the audit, I think you have copies of these. If you haven't seen them, we'd love to give them to you and to you also. But I just think it's time to do a complete street policy for the township. It would benefit everybody. And
I would certainly suggest you make sure, just once again, that we have a copy of that so we can see what you're referring to.
It's
right.
Over a year old, I believe.
Well, and like I said, in the neighborhood plan.
And it had a lot to do with getting those, the signs on Main Street.
Okay.
Right. There's places as an amputee, I don't want to go cross at all in the township.
Appreciate that.
But anyway, I can talk to whatever. I just
forward
think
it again, so fresh in our minds.
And right? I will. And also, I do have copies of Sustainable Jersey. If no one is if you're not all familiar with it, I know you're new, and certainly the Green Team would be happy to do a presentation on Sustainable Jersey at some point if you'd like us to. It's all actions that you guys really should be doing for the sustainability of the township. But complete streets is something that we would like to support you guys in doing. And I think it's good those Bradford pears are down, that we should do more native plants that support pollinators. And they don't do a lot for feeding your birds either. But anyway, that's another side. All right,
that was a beautiful asset to.
They are beautiful, but they
and all along Route 50.
Yeah, they're beautiful, and now they're invasive, and there's other trees that are more beneficial.
We'll have a discussion about that.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe Joe.
Look into the 80 trees that they're going to put into Lenape.
About Green Team.
So I have been involved in.
Hate to put you on the spot here, but
I very much enjoy Sustainable Jersey. I've been working with them for a few years, albeit during COVID, everything kind of stalled out a little bit. I work with them for the information technology aspects to get communication out and whatnot, communication between the residents, polls and things like that. So yeah, I'm very familiar with.
We are certified. We're bronze certified.
Right? Yeah, so
right.
We'll get you to silver hopefully soon. Okay.
Well, we're working on it, but we need you guys' help.
We'll look into that.
We need. Yeah.
I love Sustainable. I'll be speaking with you soon.
Okay, great. All right,
you might look into the master plan that was done in 2006 and added to the master plan of 28 sites for sidewalks. you might look into that.
I think that's wonderful, but I still think the complete streets for all policy
Well, that should add to it.
Is a good policy to have.
It's part of the master plan.
Maybe aspects of it are, but you don't have a complete streets policy.
Well,
So anyway, we can.
I don't think you can want more than an outline. That took many, many hours to do with those people on the planning board. And it was introduced in 2004 and added to the master plan. So maybe you should take a look at that.
And what I know and what we were told when we asked to do this before was that you were doing all those things. And what I know from looking at other municipalities, there's a lot that are lacking for pedestrians and bicycles. And it's great that you're doing light vehicles, but there's a lot that's lacking. And I know, it's expensive to do things, but, with complete streets, they're like, if you, again, you're not going to, if you're doing it when you're paving, if you're doing marking when you're paving, you're going to save money. And in the long run, it's sustainable for the community. I mean, I know.
Well, take a look at that master plan.
Right.
Okay.
And I can show you pictures in Monroe Township where they have green for bicycles.
If we had 28 sites to contemplate, we're talking tons and tons and tons of money.
And
so we have to also keep that in perspective.
Yes. And hopefully this will save money and make the community better for other people.
Okay.
Yes.
I appreciate your comments.
All right. This is public comment. Is there anyone else? Mr. Nelson.
Thanks. Welcome aboard, Joe. And I'm with the school board. So I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Dr. Zito yet, but I'm sure he'd like to talk to you. And I can work with you getting that set up. I wanted to say thanks to Sue. We were able to get the open swim working for Tuesdays and Thursday night as she led to, 7 to 9. Now through into June, and then in the summer we're going to continue to open up more and more hours. So we now have it open 2 times a week for seniors, and then open swim from Tuesdays and Thursdays from 7 to 9. I think it's like a $3 charge for the kids that pays for the
lifeguard.
Lifeguard, thank you. I want to say thank you to the police department for their continued assistance with our ongoing issues. They have continued to work even over the weekends in close contact with the school board, school administration, and the liaison officers that have essentially helped us with our ongoing couple issues with a couple troubled individuals. Even up to today, they were on site assisting us with that. We're also working with the police department to get a class 3. Requires cooperation with the police department, this board and our board, that will help relieve some of the stresses that are put on the police department and allow us to take on some of that burden directly with the school board. And then finally, I'm happy to say that masks are now optional in our school district starting today. So we're finally getting back to normal.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you, Jerry. We appreciate your updates.
Gonna be tough.
Next. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sandy Hickerson. I live at 210 Upland Avenue at Pasikin. I'm a representative of the Garden State Second Amendment Grassroots Organization. I was here the last meeting and I re-presented to you the Second Amendment resolution asking you to consider it and pass it. I have here tonight a couple of other signed resolutions that I would like to turn into you from residents that have signed in approval of this. And Mayor, you had asked there at the end of the meeting about what more of our mission was or what we were wanting to do. And one of the other gentlemen did answer your question, but I wanted to add to that. What we really would like to do is not necessarily stop, but work with our representatives. You know, we have these, quote, common sense gun laws that are coming down the pipeline that some of us law-abiding citizens, we feel that they infringe upon our rights. So we would want to work with you so that people understand why we feel that our rights are being violated, why our rights are being infringed. For instance, this past December, Governor Murphy put out a storage bill that he was seeking to pass that required all law-abiding citizens that were firearms owners to keep their unloaded firearm locked in a gun safe and their ammunition locked in a separate safe in your home. What would we do in an emergency? You're gonna look at that intruder at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, wait, let me unlock my firearm. Wait, I gotta unlock my ammunition. Oh, but wait, I gotta load my gun. Seconds. You have seconds. This is our lives that we're talking about. And these are the kind of bills that infringe upon our rights. You know, we live in the state of New Jersey. We can't carry outside of our home for self-defense or for home defense. So we can only defend ourselves in our home. So I wanted to give that as an example to you of what we were trying to accomplish. The last I knew, there was over 40 bills sitting on Governor Murphy's desk that he wanted to put forth. You know, and maybe not all of them infringe upon our rights, but chances are most of them do. At least that's how the law-abiding citizens feel. So I just wanted to put that out there to try and maybe answer some of your questions.
I appreciate that.
And I don't have all of the answers, but I'd be willing and happy to work with you to get the answers.
Well, just so you know, if you'll recall, hopefully you'll recall at the last meeting, our solicitor, we have an interim solicitor here this evening, but
Yes.
our solicitor offered to take it up and do the research at no charge to the township. I think
Yes,
that shows us a
wonderful.
little bit of passion on his part. I'm an individual that had to pull a legal gun in an emergent situation, and I'm very happy that I had it at the time. I can imagine if I had to go get my ammunition from one location and my gun from another location and
Right.
put them two together to stop a crisis. So,
Yes.
I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. And,
Thank you.
but, I'm one person of the entire committee up here, and he's looking into it.
Right.
Once he reports back to us, we'll then make an informed decision.
Thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate your time and your consideration and looking into this. And again, we look at those folks over in Ukraine. What are they doing? They're handing out firearms to them. We're shipping millions of rounds from the United States over for those citizens. So. But thank you very much. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. Is there anyone else in the township?
Give them to our solicitor.
I think we have them already.
She said there were ones from different municipalities.
Mr. Stride.
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to comment on Ms. Hopkins' report on the Lighthouse. It seems like just a short period of time, Mrs. Link announced that the county would be demolishing the Lighthouse. I don't know what Ms. Hopkins did to save the Lighthouse, but thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak at this time?
Well, let's see it done.
Seeing no one, I'll entertain. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Percy?
Committee. A couple of coincident problems I think are occurring right now. Congratulations to the Industrial Commission for working on those projects because they're going to come into the work session pretty soon and we're going to get some work done. Route 322 corridor essentially starts at Atlantic Cape Community College where that traffic light is and proceeds east towards the end of the township. They've done a great job of engineering the Cologne Avenue traffic light situation. But a problem has occurred which may throw a monkey wrench into the situation. Cedar Point, the residential area above Cologne Avenue on the north side, is sidewalked all the way down to Cologne Avenue. Prospective development on the south side will be sidewalked all the way down to Cologne Avenue. The coincident situation is that the state of New Jersey has just put a retention pond right in the path of the sidewalking situation going east from Cologne Avenue. They are doing the ADA ramps right now. And it's going to be you're going to have to find out, are they going to sidewalk that? What protections are going to be there for the residents who are now going to have to walk past that retention pond? There's no fencing there. The other coincident situation is the Glades, which is part of Hamilton Commons. They're required to sidewalk 322 and Cologne Avenue. And that's something you're going to have to get involved with because they haven't started it yet. Where are they in this process?
Well, I mean, it seems to me, I've been through the development to look at it and check on it. It seems to me like they're pretty much built out. So the sidewalk should have been one of the first things.
That's my point. Now, what is the state of New Jersey going to do when they put this mushy conglomeration of dirt, sand, whatever's going to be happening? They decided to move the water retention from one side of Cologne Avenue and Route 322 to the other side. So it's now it's a problem over there. Yeah. So you're going to have to find out from the state engineers, what are they doing with that hunk of property? Are they going to sidewalk it or not?
I'll check with the state engineers. I'll get back to you in 4 years.
It's their responsibility to continue it on.
That project's not complete yet, so I don't know if...
I know, because they're doing ADA, maybe they're going to finish it up. I don't know. But
Jack, I think we have enough contacts with the group that's out there, Chief, don't we? Can we find out if there is any intent? I don't believe there is because I think we would see it already.
But if they're just going to leave that mushy pot of glue there, how are the people going to get from one side to the other side? They're doing the ADA compliance, which is responsible.
That's required.
Yeah, it's responsibility and it's required to be done. And it's a fine looking job, man. I'm not complaining about the job itself, but are they going to leave that piece being a problem? It's going to be a problem for everybody trying to walk down to Leipzig Avenue. We're almost there to Leipzig Avenue. But there are other residential units thinking about building in that particular area, plus a commercial site alongside of it on the other side of the road.
Jack, I sincerely appreciate your vigilance in this matter. Your heart is in the right place. And as you heard us say, we will check into it. Let's find out what their intent is, and then we'll see what kind of leverage we have. All right.
Carl, did you put your initials in the sidewalk over there yet?
Not yet. No.
Can I go there when you do it? I'll put mine there too. It's a really nice looking job.
Well, there was Jack, you brought up a very good point about sidewalks. The new developments have been required to put in sidewalks, and they are paying for them. It isn't paid for by us,
right.
You know?
Right.
And it is, if they wanted to put money into the recreation area, was a possibility. But you know that Tavistock has a sidewalk all the way to Wawa. Okay, but it's not continued because we don't have a new development there to subsidize it.
Right. Well,
okay. So you brought up the fact that it's going to be interfered with a detention basin, right? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, it's. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be there, but what are they going to do to let the pedestrian continue past that? What's the safety measure that's going to be there? It's number one. And is there going to be a sidewalk there anyway? It's the state's responsibility. They're doing the development, so we require the sidewalk. But it's just their responsibility to do that. All right, thank you.
Jack, I think part of the option, the part of it is finding out what was required of Evergreen when they did it. I'm not sure. I remember the application, but I don't, because they all blend into one, as you know. And I think that once we find out what their obligation to the township is, because if you recall, when we did the mall area, we had that same issue with the retention pond out where the jug handle is, and they wanted to force all the pedestrian traffic inside around that. And I'm wondering maybe if Evergreen there's some type of commitment to bring that behind the jug handle to Clone Avenue. So I think that once we find out what their obligation is, we'd be better off.
Didn't see
being
that
able
in
to
the plan.
advise.
I've seen, well, I call it the Glades now, but whether I call it Hamilton Commons. I'm sorry.
I
don't know.
get
The
confused.
names are, but they are required to do 322 and Cologne Avenue up to their entrance.
Right.
And it's on their plat.
I appreciate you bringing to our attention. I think we may have just talking this out. Maybe that's what the intent is, but we'll find out. And if not, then we'll petition the state to see what we can come up with.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Schrei.
Just a little to add on to what Jack was saying. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I think part of an issue that I'm concerned about is following up on planning board and zoning board approvals. And it's a serious problem. If you're serious about the conditions upon which approvals are made by the boards, I think sometime there was a study by the state. This goes back to 2000, and they did it. It was a voluntary thing. It's like 150 some page report, and one of the recommendations was, rather than paying an engineer or a professional to inspect the conditions in order to save some money, the zoning officer would do that. Okay. Well, the consequence is, and I'm not going to start naming examples, right, but a lot of these conditions, and you can go right down the list of approvals. You've sat on the zoning board and the planning board, and many of you have. The boards will sit there very meticulously and very judiciously go through, and the applicant and the board all agree, and there's negotiating and horse trading, and it's all for the good. But then when it comes to someone inspecting those conditions, it doesn't get done. So I think you may want to take a closer look at how these conditions of these approvals are checked upon. Because sometimes there's not a time limit sometimes, okay? Well, the applicant, you just give the approval and then say, well, when are you going to get it done? Well, it's not part of the decision or resolution. Many years later, you find out that the things were not done. And so it's really, it kind of wastes a lot of people's time when you sit there and for the good of the community. So anyway, why some of these things are being raised, I think you might want to take a look at some of these issues.
Bruce, I sincerely appreciate your comments, because there's nothing more frustrating than a volunteer that takes the time out of their schedule to sit on a meeting and make a decision based on the residents of this town on a plan development or any type of other application, and add their input because they realize how the things may impact their community.
Right.
And then to get testimony from the applicant, get the application passed, and then to find out after the fact that things were not complied with. I can tell you this, Deputy Mayor Cheek and I sat in on a meeting the other day, and it had nothing to do with the issue that was raised, but during the conversation of trying to create another efficiency in another area to lessen burden on taxpayers, we found out that there was an entity that received a planning board approval that is not complying with that planning board approval, and it is taxing some of our services. Fortunately, Mr. Chief was in attendance at the meeting, and he said, wait a minute, I remember these comments.
Exactly.
This should not have happened.
Right.
And we are addressing that situation right now.
Yeah.
So, unless people like yourself and unless residents bring things to our attention, we don't see them. And even with the zoning office, they do a very good job, but unless it's brought to their attention, there's really not much they can do about it. Now, I do want to be clear. we had a pandemic we were dealing with. So we were not anxious to send people out to properties.
Well, this has been going on for years.
Right, I know it has.
Yeah.
I know, but I want to paint the picture that in the last 2 years, but then again today, the pandemic's over.
Right.
So at this point, I fully expect that any amount of code enforcement that's necessary is going to be done. It'll be done in a timely manner. And again, those issues that you see and other residents see, bring them to our attention. Don't assume we know about them, because this is one that could save a substantial amount of money. And there's clear testimony that they were supposed to act in a certain manner.
Yeah, one example, behind Buffalo Pike, the development back there,
Yes.
along the, was the Volunteers Way.
Two-way.
On the zoning board, many times, several times, residents have come in for a shed or a fence, and by bringing their they're doing the right thing by coming to get an approval, and they find out that previous owners have clear-cut buffer zones and things like that. So it just it's a surprise, and then the zoning board tries to work with them, knowing the situation, but it's a problem, and you're well aware. And I just wish that somehow you might want to revisit rather and having some kind of a mandatory or some kind of a trigger that will send some enforcement or just a check on the and also I've thought, and not just myself, but the zoning board, when we're granting approvals, put some kind of a time limit, like when are you going to do this? It's hard to do that, but somehow there has to be a way to make sure the conditions are met. That's really all I need to say. And I know you're aware of it. So
I am, and I appreciate that. And I think, again, with hopefully this thing is in the rearview mirror, and it turns into endemic instead of pandemic, we get back to normalcy. And part of normalcy is proper code enforcement and issues. So I appreciate your comments, and I am sure that it'll be looked at differently moving forward.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to try this again. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public.
I do. Am I part of the public? Okay.
You can comment at any time, Mrs. Lemke.
Okay. The county has had that Lenape Park for 16 years. All right? 16 years. They could have been fixing that lighthouse and put it forth to other people to do that, which I stood up to do, okay? But my opinion, the monies should come from the county, from Denny Levinson, and not rely on Sue Hopkins, who, by the way, in April, before the lease ran out, she said to me several times, she has the money to do it, but never stepped up to do it. And it could have been done before the end of that lease. So kudos to Sue if she can change Denny Levinson's mind, all right, to put this back on the map, because I've applied for a historic status, and that has always been a problem in fundraising for it. But really, the county has owned that, and I've asked every year, when are you going to do an update on that lighthouse? We're doing this and that and this and that. They've spent millions, literally millions of dollars, and bought Lenape Park for $4 million. So, I sort of am very upset. Not upset because I want it done, but I feel the responsibility is Atlantic County, who owned that property, took that property over, and did not do anything for that lighthouse for 14 years, and hoped that it would fall down. But that lighthouse is not falling down. So that's my comment on that.
All right. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the. Thank you. Motion? Second. I have a motion by Mr. Patali, second by Mr. Cheek. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
At this point, I'll consider a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
Oh, I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.